really excited to have you join us today. We've got a great topic here. So we're going to talk about the 10 KPIs that every AEC firm needs to nail for success.
Yep. And actually, John, I'm gonna throw you a curveball.
What?
I'm gonna throw you a quick curveball.
No, you're not. Don't do this to me.
So we talk a lot about in our organization around psychological safety, and I've got to have a psychologically safe conversation with you right now. In that we plan these things month ahead. We choose the topics, and then I am just notorious for changing the topic or augmenting it.
Enhancing.
That's right. Enhancing. And so, I ended up doing that same thing to you. So I'm not gonna get rid of the 10 KPIs.
Okay.
But I realize we're gonna change it just a little bit and really kind of focus on maybe more around unlocking the science of growth with KPIs and AEC. Because I really, to be honest with you, I felt like, we can give people the KPIs, but if they don't understand how to apply that to their business, then it's really a futile effort. So I thought today maybe we could talk a little bit more about the application of KPIs, and then we can obviously give people the top 10 and kind of go from there. So I'm sorry.
It sounds.
I
will adapt. I'm malleable.
Yeah, that's right.
No problem.
Give our marketing team and John a heart attack. And I apologize to all you all in user land. I promise you the topic will be well received.
We'll hit on probably more than 10 KPIs.
That's right.
So.
That's right.
So just a quick housekeeping update here. We are going to take questions at the end of the call. So feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll get to as many of your questions as we can. And if we don't have time, we'll get to the others after the meeting. So, but I'm John Goff. I'm Director of Business Development here at TrebleHook. I've been focused exclusively on CRM for AEC firms for 5.5 years. Now it's getting close to 6 years. So excited to have you join us today.
Awesome. And my name's Chris Fay. I'm the founder and CEO of TrebleHook. We're going to talk very little about TrebleHook today and just more about the topic. I've been in construction for almost a decade, running a software company now for the last almost 14 years, and then founded TrebleHook about 3 years ago, and have been having some fun with it. So happy to be here today. Thanks for having me, John.
Good deal. You're welcome, Chris. I wouldn't do this without you.
Wouldn't do it without you, man.
So what's this crazy slide all about?
Well, I saw that. I wanted to throw this at you to see if you thought we'd be going to a Fish concert or a widespread panic.
Got a little Salvador Dali in there.
I saw a video of the Sphere in Vegas, and they were. I think somebody was playing there, but no, really before we kind of get into KPIs, I wanted to kind of talk about this slide, and really it's kind of that left brain, right brain. The left brain being more kind of analytical, the right brain being a little bit more creative. And so, John, where are you?
I am solidly left brain.
Left brain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What about you?
I'm probably definitely left brain. I'm definitely a process guy, and off camera, Alex, our marketing guru over here, or you. He's right brain, right? So the reality is in society, it takes this blend of right brain and left brain to make our world go round. We need people that are ultra creative and can vision and start seeing the future, and then we need people that are more tactical and analytical by nature, and really when those two things come together is when success can happen. And it's really the same thing in any business. So instead of saying left brain, right brain, for me, I always talk about the art and science of business. Right. Yep. And there's an art component of running a business and anything that we do, and there's also a science component of what we do. And so today we're going to be talking about kind of how to grow your organization. Certainly leveraging KPIs. We're going to lean in a little bit more to the left brain today, but just in an AEC firm, I mean, you can see there's an absolute need of this blend. And so when we talk about the art of growing a business, the art are things like your culture, right? You're surrounding yourself with really good people that are driven and motivated.
Work together, complement each other.
100%.
All that.
In AEC, if you're an architecture firm, you need creations and these ideations to come to life, and you have to be able to vision and see these things. And then, other art items is developing relationships with your peers and your customers, providing thought leadership. So there's all this stuff that comes into the art of growth that all of our businesses need to make sure that we get right. And then you also have this balance of the science of growth. And, in AEC firm, we talk about like the repeatable process by which you either build or design a process or a project, your financials, your operations methods, the activities basically that your firm deploys each and every day. And then honestly, the KPIs that you use to measure, your performance. And that's really why we're here today is we're going to kind of stick a little bit left brain.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the science of growth and specifically kind of dive into a topic around KPIs.
Awesome.
How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good. So let's kind of talk about everybody here, the title was Top 10 KPIs that we changed a little bit. So everybody's got an idea of KPIs, but let's just talk a little bit about them, level set and talk about why they're important and just kind of define them and the process.
Love it, man. Yeah. So KPIs, people call it all sorts of stuff, right? So, but as it comes today, we're talking about key performance indicators. Some people call them measurements. Some people call them metrics.
Yep.
But it's basically those quantifiable measures of performance towards a specific goal, right? So it's anything that you can quantifiably measure in your business that is going to help lead you towards or measure towards a specific goal. And really KPIs, we've all heard the acronym of SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. That is a KPI. Right. We have to be able to measure and have specific metrics around that KPI in order to leverage it. And the thing with KPIs, and honestly, this is one thing we'll talk a little bit before we wrap up, is you can attack this and try and track far too many things, because the reality is there are KPIs in all parts of our business around retention rates, recruitment rates. I mean, think about collections and accounting and sales, your billable utilization rates. I mean, there's so many KPIs that you can track. Today we're going to focus a little bit more on the revenue side of it and revenue as a supporting metric for growth. But it's just important that you can apply this to really any part of your business.
Yeah. I mean, all different parts of the business, human resources has, KPIs that they're measuring towards, and operations has their own, and every group and every individual has their own KPIs that are specific to them. And so if everybody's firing on all cylinders at the same time, that's when the magic happens.
Yep. 100%. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into that.
Good. So leading and lagging. So you've got your, what's in front of you. You're in the car, you're looking through the front windshield, and then what's behind you, you're looking in the rear view mirror. Both kinds of KPIs are important, and it's important to understand the difference between the two.
So I'm going to quote. So I grew up in the South in Atlanta. I was watching the one of the award shows the other day, and Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll, the country singer, was talking about that the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason, right? and I thought about that when we started talking about leading and lagging indicators. But really, in my mind, the windshield is the leading indicators to success. And honestly, this is probably the most misunderstood and underutilized KPIs that are out there. But these are KPIs that can help you predict the future. They and not only predict the future, but they enable you to change course if for some reason you're off track. It takes a little bit of math, right? And we'll kind of talk about how to identify that. But leading indicators can actually help you change the course of where you're going. In contrast, we talk about lagging indicators. Most companies have some sort of lagging indicator. What did we bill last month? What was our annualized revenue? Like, how many customers do we have? That's a very common indicator that a lot of businesses use, and we call those lagging indicators. And that's that's the rear view mirror. It tells you how you did. Unfortunately, no matter how much you want to change it, you cannot change a lagging indicator.
Nope.
You can't change what happened yesterday. But they are absolutely critical to tell you if you are achieving a specific goal. So in our view, having a blend of both leading and lagging indicators is the way to effectively run the business.
Yeah. I mean, every month I'm looking at how am I tracking? Where are my? Because as a salesperson, I'm creating leads, I'm creating opportunities, I'm making sales motions and progressing pipeline. I need to know where I am, because otherwise it's going to be April 30th, and it's like, well, too late now.
Yeah. Yep.
The month is over.
Yep. And how did I do? So.
Oh, what do we have here?
I told you in that psychologically safe conversation. So I did change the title a little bit, and I also we're going to put you at the center of the webinar
for this meeting. Okay,
you're now at the center of the webinar. So
cool.
What I thought would be good, in as opposed to going through these these KPIs and just telling people about them, is I really thought it would be better to see KPIs actually in action. Mm-hmm. And so I thought the best way was to use you.
I'm a real life example, right?
John, as our real life example. So everybody in webinar, TrebleHook webinar land, I'd like you to meet John. John is now, just for a brief moment, no longer our director of business development, but is now the principal of a very successful AEC firm.
Nice.
And so first off, are you architecture, engineering, or construction?
I will go construction.
Okay, so John is a principal at a construction firm. So obviously we work with A, E, and C, but today we're going to talk about C. Okay. In this instance, John, I'm gonna say that your leadership has come. You run the industrial division at your firm. Nice. I didn't even put you on the spot. What's the name of your company?
Well, I can't call it Goff. You got me. I can't call it Goff Construction, so I don't know.
Okay. So that was off script. Sorry about that. All right. So John, your industrial division company has come and said, we want you to double the business in the next 5 years.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And so we talked about like the art and science of growth. So, the art side of this is you're going to be like, all right, I got to have, the right people, the right experience. We need to develop relationships in industrial. I need to probably be a part of some industrial organizations, kind of art. Right. The science comes into that SMART goal that we were talking about before. And you have a pretty simple SMART goal: is take the business as it is today in this division and double it in the next 5 years. And so that's where we're going to dive into the art. So, so you got to double the business in the next 5 years.
All right. That's the
you in for that?
I'm in for that.
Okay. So what we thought we would do to kind of bring this life to action is we thought about 5 steps that John could go through to apply KPIs, kind of science-based selling and science-based growth to get to where he wants to be, to get to where you want to be. And so, the first one, obviously, we got to understand where you're going.
Yep. I want to get to 100 million in 5 years.
2, we want to understand where we've been, right? So that we can do some homework and research. We then want to create a formula that's going to enable you to get from point A to point B. Okay. Once we have that formula, we're then going to identify the most important metrics or KPIs that we can track. And then simply we're going to hold ourselves accountable to get from point A to point B. So kind of 5 steps. I want to walk you through, if you're okay with this, I want to walk you through the 5 steps.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So step 1, let's understand, John, where you're going. We kind of recapped this, but remind the audience.
So I'm going to go from, we did $50 million last year.
Okay.
And in 5 years, we want to be at $100 million.
Okay. So $50 million in industrial revenue, that's kind of where you were. But where you're going is you want to be $100 million by 2028. So that's okay. So now we have a vision, we have an idea of where we want to take the business. And I'll be honest, I'll tell you that this is an area where I see a lot of firms fall down, is they don't first have a vision or an idea where they want to go. Right. I want to grow. Okay. Well, where do you want to get to? How far do you want to go? And so first off, it's very important to understand where we're going.
It's kind of like, I want to be better. You have to measure it.
Double. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 2, understand where you've been. A lot of firms, really depending on the maturity of the firm, the systems of the firm, how familiar they are with this sort of information, we need to go do a little bit of research into your company. Okay. All right. I need to kind of learn a little bit about your past history, so that we can start building the model. So, the first thing we talk about is really the project life cycle. So as it relates to the history, I want to understand how projects have moved through your business in the past, just to get a baseline. And
this is the sales funnel, really. I mean, you're looking at the top of the funnel, all of your leads, as it moves through the life cycle, opportunities, proposals. You've won the business. That's really you're looking at a sales funnel,
right?
And we're just kind of reverse engineering it.
That's right. And so basically we, in TrebleHook, one of the, we've kind of got a core project life cycle that we leverage. I've taken a couple stages out of here just to keep it simple, but yeah, you're exactly right. So a lead, those are the number of projects that you hear about, like just that are in space. And then you move to a number of opportunities. These are projects that typically you've done some sort of go, no go,
right?
And you have chosen to pursue them.
And you're dedicating resources. Now you're getting other teams involved.
Yep.
Marketing's got to do some work, estimating. And so, yeah. So now you're dedicating some team human resources to winning the work.
Go after the work.
Yeah.
Right. And then of those ones that you chase, you're going to provide some sort of response of proposals, pricing, RFPs, RFQs to win the work.
Right.
And then ultimately you're going to win the work. So I'm just going to poke around in your business here for a minute. Okay. And I'm going to just kind of ask you some things. And what I actually want to start with is I want to kind of start with the end in mind. So you told me 50 million.
Yep.
All right. How many projects was that?
20 projects that we won to get there.
Okay. So you had 50 million in revenue last year. And that was made up by 20 projects.
Yep.
Okay. Now, to get those, how many proposals did you provide? Like how many
go with 65 proposals out there.
65 proposals. All right. So you submitted 65 proposals, and then you won 20 of them, and that ended up being 50 million in revenue. Yep. So right there, we can go ahead and extrapolate out a couple key performance indicators. And one is your win rate.
Yep.
So 20 over 65 is 31%. So you're going to win 31% of the proposals you put out the door.
Right.
And then the second thing we kind of can garner from just this data is that your average project size is $2.5 million.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now in AEC, we know a lot of firms, some have super large projects, some have super small projects. And you can make this as complicated as you want to, but for today's purposes, we're just going to keep it simple and just say your average project's about $2.5 million.
You probably have a sweet spot too,
right?
Where you typically are, but you may take on some very small projects, or you may have some monster projects that kind of come in that are factored in that weighs in on that average.
Right.
So you usually have kind of a sweet spot of where you win, but you'll have outliers.
That's right. All right, so we've gotten a couple metrics. So 65 proposals. How many projects do you think that you went after or chased last year?
100 pursuits.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you chased about 100 projects. So I chased 100, 65 of them I was able to propose on, and 20 I won.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, 100 projects to 65 proposals. That's about a 65% opportunity to proposal rate.
Yeah.
So you go out and chase 10 projects, you know that you're going to end up proposing on 6.5. I don't think there's half projects out there unless they get canceled. All right. And then, so you chased 100 projects. Yeah. How many were out there? How many did you consider when you looked at bid lists and
business cards collected, conferences, in through the website, all those, 500 leads.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about 500. So you reviewed and considered about 500.
Yep.
And you chased 100.
Yep.
All right. So that's about a 20% lead to opportunity ratio.
Yep.
All right. So John, I was able to ask you a couple just key questions about your past business. A lot of firms can answer all of these, but some firms can only answer a portion, and that's okay. Even if you would have just given me a best guess, it gives us a baseline of where to start.
Yeah.
And then once we have the baseline, we can start extrapolating out some of these additional metrics of win rate, project size, conversion rate. And this is the formula that we're going to use to go to step 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So step 3 is we've got kind of the data. You told us in the past. And we want to try and figure out a way to take that data and have it support where we're going, where we're going, where we've been. Now let's create a formula. So all I did here, John, is I whipped up a quick spreadsheet when you weren't looking, and all the information that we just looked at on the last slide, I just put into a spreadsheet for us. So 50 million in revenue, 20 projects, 2.5 million. You can see the proposals, the ratios. So I've got that.
It all lines up. The math is correct.
So if I was just to simply say, well, John wants to double the business by 2028, and I've got the exact same metrics, let me just see what that would look like. So I can go ahead and go out to 2028 and say, well, all right, going from 50 to 100 million, And with the exact same metrics that we're using before, we know now that we're going to have to win 40 projects. We're going to have to submit 130 proposals. We're going to have to chase 200 opportunities, and we're going to have to consider 1,000.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how that's going to grow over time. Mm-hmm. And then simply what I would do is I'm going to fill in the blanks, from year to year. Yep. So now I can see where I need to be in 24, in 2025, 26, 27, and ultimately to support your goal.
Right.
Now, one thing I'll just mention about a spreadsheet like this, or you can make this as condensed as you want to. Yep. You don't have to look out 5 years. You can look out 1 year. You can look out 10 years. You can add all sorts of metrics of tracking this. The other thing is, as your business grows, some of these metrics might change. Once you have the formula built, you can actually play around with it and say, well, gosh, what if I grew my average project size to $3 million? What's that going to do? Well, I can put $3 million in the formula, and all of a sudden it'll tell me my indicators. If I'm like, well, gosh, I'm gonna chase. I think I can chase more opportunities and increase my win ratio. It enables me to mess with the formula. So I know where we're going. I know where we've been, and I've now created a formula or some sort of analytics sheet that can help me measure how I get from point A to point B.
Yep, and this is very linear, as you say. We just took a very simple case, but the numbers can change. You may decide from 2023 to 2025, you're going to accelerate growth more.
Right.
Just as an example. And so you can tweak the formulas like that.
Right.
But I'm looking at, the number of opportunities, the dollar value assigned to those, the percent chance I have winning, all these things all factor into what I need to do to get to the point that I want to be.
Right. And actually all of these we can think about as in some respect, and we'll talk about leading and lagging indicators, and it'll make a little bit more sense here in just a second. So, all right. So step 3, we're good. We got the formula.
Yep.
Step 4, we want to now take a look and identify the most important and impactful KPIs that we can track. So I tell you, our company, we studied a book last year called The One Thing. It's a great book if you haven't read it, and it just really helps narrow the noise down to focus on the most important things. So there are 100 or 200 metrics and KPIs that you can track. Yeah. And what I've seen companies do is to try and track way too many. Yeah. And they're tracking them for the point of tracking them. And they never were able to do anything with it. So I'm always coaching people to lower the amount of metrics you're tracking, start small, and then grow from there. So John, out of this, we want to now, out of the KPIs we've listed on the left, I've got 23, and then right now we're going to talk about 2024 because that's all we can impact right now.
Yep.
And just pick the top 2 or 3. What do you think would be the top 2 or 3 KPIs that you would want to track?
So I want to go with the number of opportunities chased.
Okay.
My win rate and my average project size.
Okay. Perfect. It's amazing how we have arrows already prepped for the answers that isn't that cool? I mean, it's awesome.
It was common sense.
Yeah.
I think. Alex is quick.
I think they call that synergy. Synergy in the business. That might be a little of the art in the
little
growth,
bit, yeah.
The art of growth. So cool. So look, you could have tracked all of them, but the reality is you chose 3, and you could have chosen 1 or you could have chosen 2, but narrowing your focus is going to enable you to grow and drive those metrics even more. Okay.
Yeah. And why I picked those 3 too is when I'm looking at, like, as a salesperson, I'm like, well, what's important to me? It's the number of leads that come in. Either I create them or they come from marketing. So I've got the real top of funnel stuff. And then, but the opportunities for me, it's like, what's real? Like that's when it's like, these are real opportunities. They're legitimate. I know the people involved. They're interested. They've got some degree of pain that I can solve for. That's really what I'm interested in on the opportunities. And then obviously my win rate tells me like how well I'm doing. Number one, if I'm at a high win rate, it's like I'm doing something right. If my win rate is lower, this month as opposed to last month or am I doing something different? Am I not asking for help when I need it? I mean, there are things that I can do there. And then I'm always looking at the average project or deal size because, at the end of the day, it's your revenue, it's your margins, it's all that keeps the lights on.
Yep, 100%. And actually, it's funny you mentioned margin a bit ago. Right now we're talking about revenue, but this exact same thing works as it relates to margin as well. You could just look at profitability as opposed to revenue,
right?
And do a pipeline review of this. And so just for you all, what we call this is a kind of a pipeline or a reverse pipeline is what we've built. Is we've started with the revenue and we've deconstructed down to how we get to the revenue. So yeah, great point on margin. And so then that moves us into step 5. And step 5 is to now that you have the model and you've picked a few to start with, now you can measure performance on those, each week, each month, and to keep yourself or your organization on track. And so the 3 you picked were average project size, so $2.5 million.
Yep.
Well, if we use that as a leading or a lagging indicator, a lagging indicator on project size is going to tell us the average project size that we've had in the past.
Right.
But the way we can use this as a leading indicator is if we begin to see our average project size slipping. Let's say we start seeing that it ends up being 2.2 or 2.3.
Yep.
That's telling us that if all other KPIs stay the same, we're going to end up being off track on our revenue. Similarly, if all of a sudden our average project size ends up being $3 million and all the other metrics remain the same, now we're tracking ahead for our revenue goals.
Right.
So this is how you can use this as a lagging, what was it? And then also as a leading to make sure that we're tracking towards it. The second thing you mentioned was the win rate. So we said, hey, we're going to focus on our win rates. That's out of all the proposals we do, we want to win, 31%. Well, similarly, if it's April, right, we're almost coming to the end of April, and if our win rate is tracking at 35%, and everything else is the same, man, we're actually ahead of plan.
That's right.
And if we're tracking at 25%, we know we're behind. So that's where we can use this as a lagging, but then also use it as a leading indicator, because now we know we can get back on track and try and impact that as we go into May, June, July.
Right.
And then the last one you chose was on opportunities chase, so opportunity projects. And the math told us we needed 120 per year. And I would typically want to break that down by month.
Yep.
So you need 10 per month. So we might say, all right, John, like, hey, we need to make sure we're chasing 10 projects per month. And we know if in the middle of April that number is 7, we're at risk. And we need to make sure we start talking about what we can do differently to impact that metric going forward. Or, man, you might be crushing it and we might have 15 new projects that we're chasing per month, in which case we're on track. So each of these is how we can apply a lagging indicator mentality, but also a leading indicator, and especially as we measure it either week by week or month by month. And so that's how we start taking these measurements. So, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I can impact all of these. That's the beauty of it. So I can impact my average project size. I can purposefully go and look for projects that are larger, and those are the ones that I'm going to pursue. The number of opportunities chased, going out, collecting more, starting with more leads that turn into more opportunities, going to more conferences, shaking more hands, going to job sites. I mean, I can increase my opportunities, and my win rate I can increase. I can, my own performance, my marketing team who's getting proposals put out, we can increase our whatever the system for putting proposals out. We can get them out quicker, change some graphics, do something, pull in resumes that are up to date, make them more professional. There are things that I can do to impact my win rate, the project size, and the opportunities that I'm going after. So you can lift 1, 2, or all 3 of those segments to kind of raise the whole bar.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think, what was cool about what we just went through, and, better than just giving people a bunch of metrics, is just understanding how you get there, and the fact that we had a vision, we researched the past, we created a formula. And again, if you're trying to build an HR department, if you're trying to improve your safety performance, if you're trying to make more money in the business, whatever, vision, past, and then create the formula.
Right.
And then obviously then identifying the most important metrics and then tracking it consistently is how you get there. So I think that people could probably take, and firms could take, this kind of 5-step methodology and really break down their business for however they want to relative to KPIs. But it was important to kind of show the process, and I think it was great to kind of use you as a construction example and how we would run people through this process and how we prioritize. So okay, so cool. So let's kind of talk about just maybe some keys to success. We already kind of hit on the first one.
Yeah, just don't overdo it. Pick some KPIs. I see, with data collection, and you've got particularly in TrebleHook, you've got all kinds of opportunities to enter all kinds of data. If we don't have a home for it, we can create it. But do you need it all? Do you want people filling out 100 fields that nobody's ever going to look at, and you're not going to run any reports off it? Like, what's the point? No, start with what you're going to use, what's going to be of value to you. The same is true with KPIs. Yeah. You don't need 17 KPIs if you're only really going to track 4 or 5.
Right. And I think, like, for us in our business, and we're obviously in the technology space, one of the biggest metrics that we track is just new opportunities created.
Right.
We kind of know our win ratio, we know our average deal size, we know what our revenue is going to be, and we know on a monthly basis that one metric that we can look at. And I think that one of the things we talk about in TrebleHook is that this being a journey, not a destination, right? So whether it's CRM or growth of a business or anything that you're going through, it's really a process. You're going through this journey together, and the quicker that you can drive utilization and adoption and start driving change early on, the more successful you will become. And that same thing happens when we start talking about metrics. Start small. This is a journey, right? You can always add another metric next week, next month, next year, but make sure you get those ones going and make sure you nail them, right? Before you start adding anything.
And drive compliance and conformity so everybody's doing the same thing the same way.
Right.
And that way, when you do look at your data, it's all, everybody's entering it the same way and they're using the same kind of methods.
Well, it becomes a culture of the way that you create, and obviously the simplicity will help drive that.
Yep.
The other ones, and you mentioned this a little bit before, is whatever ones you track. Okay, you chose 3. Okay, somebody else might choose 3 more or choose 2 more. Make sure you're super clear on how you impact those metrics. So let's just take a quick example. You said that the average project size was one you wanted to track. So you said $2.5 million. Right. Well, one of the things you would want to make sure you understand is how to impact that 2.5 million. Right. Well, it's going to dictate on the types of projects that we're pursuing, the types of clients we might be looking for, the types of bids we might be responding to. Right. So whatever metric you decide to track, you also need to make sure you understand all the inputs that you can do that, because when you use it as a leading indicator and you're like, man, I'm off track. Yeah. I need to know darn well what I'm going to do to get myself back on track.
Yeah. Right. You got to know the why behind it.
Right.
Yep.
The other thing that we talk about, and obviously this is the business that we're in, is you have to have a system to help not only identify the past, but also to help predict and manage the future. And I think one of the things we see in a lot of AEC firms, and one of the reasons we're in business, quite honestly, is because we saw disparate project data all over the place. And so if I went to a construction firm in this instance and said, hey, great, you have a healthcare division. What's your average project size? What's your average win rate? Which one's the most profitable? So many firms have struggled to give me that data as we ask those questions. And it's because their project data is in so many different disparate systems. It's in their ERP and accounting, it's in project management. They might have a CRM solution. They might have disparate Excel spreadsheets. Yep. So in order to fully leverage KPIs, we've got to make sure that we have a system that we can go get all the research done and then also track our performance going forward. So that's a key foundation. And honestly, you don't have to overdo this. Start with a spreadsheet, right? But as you get more and more mature, having a system in place to help you will help accelerate this. And then the last thing we talked about is really refining and enhancing KPIs as you grow. Like we looked at that very linear Excel spreadsheet, with year after year after year and the metrics staying the same. Yep. The reality is your business is going to change. Yeah. You might add a metric. You might realize you have a higher win rate. with a larger average project size. You might realize that you're getting better at identifying ideal project profiles.
Yep.
So you just need to know that your KPIs can change, and it should be something that you take a look at, every quarter, every month, every year, to make sure that you're tracking the right KPIs. And obviously you can make them a lot more complex too. So,
well, I was just thinking of that too. When you like kind of next level would be, what's your average cost of pursuit? Because you've got, people, resources, and you're dedicating time and energy, and that's money every time you pursue a project. I ask this question a lot. Do you know your average cost of pursuit? And it's kind of 50-50, Well, I've got a pretty good idea, but have you ever really run the numbers to see what that is? Because oftentimes you may not even want to, chase after more projects. You may just want to chase after projects that you have a higher propensity of winning.
Right.
Or they're higher value projects. So it may be we don't want to put out, say 20 proposals and win 10. We want to put, 16 and win 11.
Right.
It's really focusing your efforts.
Yep.
So that's kind of next level KPIs, really, that you can dig deeper and deeper and deeper as you mature in your process.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we also, just to know, we published a blog a number of months ago. We just threw out, kind of the top 10 ones that we see. And, we actually talked about a lot of them today, and win rate and average project size and number of projects needed to support your pipeline. But we also talked about, some technology utilization ones in there, some ideas around profitability by division, by department. So it's kind of a cool reference to add some insights.
There's a lot of good blogs. Kudos to Alex, who's in the room here.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you go to the TrebleHook website on our blog page, there's he's done a great job. There's a lot of great content in there, and this is one of them. We had the idea for this webinar because it was so well received.
Yep.